Welcome to Thoughts That Matter. Tonight's episode brings together 10 quiet monk stories from the Stillness and Silence series. These stories are about the spaces we often overlook, the pause, the quiet, the moments where nothing is asked of us. As you listen, there is no need to focus or remember. Simply let the words move slowly and allow your breathing to soften. If these calm stories help you find rest, you're welcome to subscribe. Your support helps us continue creating peaceful stories for sleep and reflection. Now, settle in and let stillness do what it does best. The sound after the bell. Long ago, in a quiet mountain monastery, there lived a young monk who struggled with silence. Each morning, the monks gathered in the meditation hall. A bell marked the beginning. Another marked the end. For most, the bell was only a signal. For the young monk, it was something to wait for. When the bell rang to begin, his mind hurried ahead. When it rang to end, he felt relief, as if silence itself had been heavy. One morning he approached the old master. "Teacher," he said, "I sit in silence, but my mind never rests. I wait only for the bell." The master replied gently, "Tomorrow, listen more carefully." The next morning, the bell rang, deep and clear. The monk waited as usual, waiting for the sound to fade, waiting for the moment to end. Then he noticed something new. After the bell stopped, there was a brief moment with nothing following. No sound, no signal, just space. His breath softened. His body relaxed. For the first time, he was not waiting for the next moment. The silence did not feel empty. It felt calm and complete. After meditation, he returned to the master. "I heard the bell," he said, "but what changed me was what came after." The master smiled. "Most people hear the sound," he said. "Few notice what remains when it is gone." He continued, "Sound passes, silence stays." From that day on, the monk practiced differently. He stopped chasing quiet. He stopped resisting noise. He simply listened. To breath, to footsteps, to the space in between. He learned this. Peace does not arrive with sound. It appears when we stop reaching for what comes next. When you hear a sound today, notice what follows. The sound will fade, but something remains. That is stillness. That is silence. And it is already here. The room with no noise. Long ago, in a monastery far from any town, there was a small room that few monks entered. It was empty. No bells. No chanting. No sounds at all. A young monk believed that if he sat there, his mind would finally become quiet. He asked the teacher for permission. The teacher nodded. "Sit," he said, "and listen." The monk entered the room and closed the door. At first he felt pleased. The silence felt clean and peaceful. But soon, something unexpected happened. He heard his breath, then his thoughts, then worries and memories. The quieter the room became, the louder his mind felt. He shifted. He waited. The silence became uncomfortable. Frustrated, he left the room and returned to the teacher. "The room has no noise," the monk said, "but my mind is louder than ever." The teacher replied gently, "Silence does not remove sound. It reveals what is already there." The monk returned the next day. This time he did not push his thoughts away. He sat and listened. A thought appeared. He noticed it. A feeling arose. He allowed it. Slowly the thoughts softened, not because they were forced away, but because they were no longer chased. The monk understood. The room was never meant to make him quiet. It was meant to show him how much noise he carried inside. That evening, he bowed to the teacher. "I thought silence was outside," he said. The teacher smiled. "True silence," he replied, "is not the absence of sound. It is the absence of resistance." Tonight, you may wish for quiet too. Peace does not come from removing noise. It comes from allowing it and letting it pass. The room is already quiet. You are learning how to be the same. The pause between two steps. Long ago, in a mountain village near a quiet monastery, there lived a monk known for his long walks. Each morning, he walked the same narrow path that wound through trees, boughs, and stones. He walked slowly, carefully, as if each step mattered. A young student once followed him. The student noticed something strange. The monk did not walk continuously. Between each step, he paused. Not long, not obvious, but just enough to be noticed. Finally, the student asked, "Teacher, why do you stop between every step? Are you tired?" The monk smiled. "I am not stopping," he said. "I am arriving." The student did not understand. So the next day, he tried walking the same way. He stepped forward, then paused. At first it felt awkward, unnatural. His body wanted to rush. His mind wanted to reach the destination. But as he continued, something changed. In the pause, he noticed the ground beneath his feet. He noticed his breath. He noticed that he was already where he needed to be. The walk became softer. He realized that most of his life was spent moving towards something else. The pause was the only place he ever truly stood. Later, he returned to the monk. "What is the pause for?" the student asked. The monk replied, "Without the pause, life becomes a chase. With it, each step becomes complete." The student bowed. That evening, as the sun lowered and the path grew quiet, he practiced again. Step, pause, step. He felt no rush. The path did not disappear. He simply walked it differently. Tonight, you may feel like you are always moving, from thought to thought, from moment to moment. But peace is not found at the destination. It lives in the pause. Between one breath and the next, between one step and another, you are allowed to stop without falling behind. The space between words. Long ago, in a quiet village near a forest, there lived a monk who was known for speaking very little. When people asked him questions, he answered slowly. Sometimes he waited before speaking. Sometimes he did not speak at all. A young visitor once became curious. "Teacher," he asked, "why do you leave so much space between your words?" The monk looked at him and smiled. "Listen carefully," he said. The visitor waited. The monk remained silent. At first, the silence felt uncomfortable. The visitor shifted his feet. He wondered if the monk had forgotten the question. But as the silence stretched, something softened. The forest sounds became clearer. The visitor noticed his own breathing. His thoughts slowed. Finally, the monk spoke. "Did you hear it?" he asked. Hear what? The visitor replied. The space, the monk said. The visitor did not understand. So the monk continued. Words carry meaning, he said. But the space between them allows meaning to land. He explained that when words come too quickly, the mind chases them. But when space is allowed, understanding appears on its own. The visitor stayed for several days. He noticed that conversations felt calmer. Arguments dissolved more easily. Listening became deeper than speaking. One evening, as they sat quietly, the visitor realized something important. The silence between words was not empty. It was full of attention. When he finally left, he bowed deeply. I came seeking answers, he said, but I learned to listen instead. Tonight, you may feel the need to fill every moment with thought or sound, but peace often lives in the quiet spaces, between words, between thoughts, between breaths. You do not need to rush to speak. The space is already speaking for you. The silence that answered. Long ago, there was a monk who lived near the edge of a small village. People often came to him with questions. They asked about happiness. They asked about fear. They asked how to quiet the restless mind. The monk listened carefully. Sometimes, he answered. Sometimes, he did not. One day, a young man arrived, clearly troubled. I have tried everything, he said. I have read, practiced, and asked many teachers. Still, I feel lost. Please tell me what to do. The monk looked at him kindly and said nothing. The young man waited. Moments passed. The silence felt heavy at first. Then she uncomfortable. Did you hear me? The young man asked. The monk nodded. Still, he did not speak. The young man felt irritation rise, then confusion, then something softer. In the quiet, he became aware of his breathing. His shoulders relaxed. His thoughts slowed. After a while, the monk finally spoke. What did you hear while I was silent? He asked. The young man thought for a moment. I heard my own thoughts, he said, and then I heard them fade. The monk smiled. Some questions, he said, are not answered with words. The young man understood. He had come seeking instructions, but found clarity instead. That evening, he left quietly. Tonight, you may also be searching for answers, but not every answer arrives as sound. Sometimes silence responds first, and if you listen gently, you may find that it is enough. The monk who waited. Long ago, in a quiet monastery surrounded by hills and tall trees, there lived a monk who was known for one thing above all else. He waited. When others hurried to meals, he walked slowly. When questions were asked, he paused before answering. When difficulties appeared, he did not rush to fix them. This puzzled the younger monks. One afternoon, a student finally asked, Teacher, why do you always wait? Aren't you afraid of missing the right moment? The monk smiled gently. I am waiting for the moment to arrive, he said. The student did not understand. So the monk invited him to sit beneath a large tree near the path. They sat together in silence. Minutes passed. The student shifted his weight. Nothing seemed to happen. Just as impatience rose, a bird landed on a branch above them. The wind softened. The light changed. The monk spoke quietly. Now, he said. The student felt it. Something had settled, both around him and within him. The monk explained, "When we rush, we act from fear. When we wait, we act from clarity." Waiting, he said, was not doing nothing. It was listening without pushing. It was allowing life to reveal the right moment. From that day on, the student practiced waiting. Before speaking, he paused. Before reacting, he breathed. Before deciding, he allowed space. He noticed fewer mistakes, less regret, more ease. The right moments appeared on their own. Tonight, you may feel pressure to move quickly, to decide, to respond, to act. But not every moment asks for movement. Some moments ask for patience. If you wait gently, clarity will come to meet you. And when it does, you will know. The moment before dawn. Long ago, in a remote monastery atop a quiet hill, there lived a monk who loved the early hours before sunrise. Each morning, he rose while the world was still wrapped in darkness. He walked through empty courtyards, past sleeping gardens, and up the narrow hill path. Everything was silent, except for the faint whispers of the wind. One night, a young student followed him. "Teacher," the student asked softly, "why do you wake so early before the sun rises?" The monk smiled. "I come to meet the moment before dawn," he said. The student did not understand. As they walked, the first hints of light appeared on the horizon. Shadows softened. Stars faded. The world held its breath. The monk stopped and gestured to the sky. "Notice this moment," he said. "It belongs neither to night nor day. It simply is." The student felt a strange calm. The world had begun to awaken, but he had arrived early enough to see it in its quiet state. The monk continued, "Most people miss this time. They sleep through it or rush past it with worry. But the moment before dawn is full of presence if we pause to notice." The student took a deep breath, letting the stillness enter his body. He felt the cool air, the gentle light, and the slow rhythm of the world preparing to begin again. Finally, the monk spoke. "The value is not in seeing the sun rise, but in meeting this quiet space beforehand. Life gives us these moments if we are awake to them." From that day on, the student rose before dawn whenever he could. He noticed small details others missed: dew on leaves, the soft murmur of streams, the way shadows stretched like gentle fingers. He discovered a deep patience in himself, a quiet joy in being present. Tonight, as darkness lingers before sleep, remember this: not every moment is meant for action. Some moments are meant for stillness, for waiting quietly, for simply being. If you arrive before the light, even for a breath, you will notice what others often miss. And in that noticing, you will find peace. The candle without wind. Long ago, in a quiet monastery, there was a single candle that burned in the corner of the meditation hall. The candle was small, yet its light reached across the room. It flickered gently, but it never went out. A young monk once asked the teacher, "Why does the candle burn so steadily? Even when the windows are open and the wind blows, it does not falter." The teacher smiled. "The candle does not resist the wind," he said. "It simply burns." The young monk did not understand. So one night the teacher asked him to sit beside the candle and watch. At first, the student focused only on the flame. He tried to keep it steady with his thoughts, imagining it protected from the wind. But the flame wavered. It leaned, danced, and flickered unpredictably. He grew frustrated. "It is moving. I cannot control it," he whispered. The teacher spoke softly. "Do you see? The flame is already doing exactly what it needs. Your attempts to control it only create tension." The student relaxed. He stopped trying to fix the flame. He simply observed. The candle continued to burn. Its light touched the walls and the floor. Its warmth filled the room. The teacher explained, "When we resist what comes, we wobble like the flame. When we accept what comes, we shine steadily, no matter the wind." The young monk realized something important. Life, like the candle, would flicker. Challenges, uncertainty, and change would blow around him. Yet, by letting go of control and simply being present, his inner light could remain steady. That night, the monk sat quietly, feeling his own breath like the gentle flicker of a flame. He understood that stillness was not the absence of disturbance, but the ability to burn steadily through it. Tonight, you may face winds of worry, doubt, or fear. But your presence, your breath, and your calm attention are like the candle. They do not resist, yet they endure. You do not need to fight every gust. You only need to burn gently, steadily, and fully where you are. The still lake. Long ago, in a village between mountains, there was a lake so calm it reflected the world perfectly. A young monk seeking to understand the mind traveled there with his teacher. He hoped to learn the secret of peace. When they arrived, the monk noticed the surface of the lake. Not a ripple disturbed it. The mountains and sky reflected clearly. "Teacher," the monk asked, "how does the lake remain so still? Even the wind can move it, and animals come to drink. Yet it never seems disturbed." The teacher smiled. "The lake does not resist the disturbances," he said. "It lets everything come and go and remains itself." The young monk did not fully understand. The teacher guided him to sit at the edge and place his hand in the water. Small ripples formed. The monk frowned. "Now it is disturbed," he exclaimed. The teacher replied, "Do you see? The disturbance is natural. It passes. The lake does not cling to stillness. It does not fight what comes." The monk watched as the ripples slowly faded. He noticed that, in the same way, his thoughts and emotions could move through him. They did not need to define him, and he did not need to resist them. The teacher said, "A mind that clings to peace will always be troubled. A mind that flows like the lake finds stillness naturally." The young monk spent the day by the lake, watching clouds drift and birds sing. Every movement became a lesson in letting go and returning to calm. As dusk fell, the lake reflected the sunset in gold and deep blue. The monk realized peace was not about avoiding life's ripples. It was about meeting each disturbance with awareness and letting it pass. Tonight, as your thoughts move through your mind, remember the lake. Even when stirred, it eventually becomes still. You do not need to chase peace. You only need to allow it, and let your mind return to clarity naturally. The quiet evening. Long ago, in a small village surrounded by hills, there was a monastery where evenings were the quietest time of day. Every evening, the monks would gather in the main hall. Some prayed, some meditated, and some simply sat in stillness. The world outside slowed, and the soft light of dusk filled the room. A young visitor once asked the teacher, "Why is evening so important? It feels empty, yet I sense something here that I cannot name." The teacher smiled. "Evening is when the world pauses," he said. "It gives space for the mind to settle, for the heart to notice itself." The visitor watched the monks in silence. He noticed their breathing, gentle and unhurried. He noticed the soft shadows stretching across the floor. He noticed the stillness of the air between movements. The teacher continued, "Most of life is lived in hurry. We rush from one thing to another, always moving, always doing. Even our thoughts follow this rhythm." He gestured to the hall, filled with quiet presence. But in moments like these, we remember that being is enough. The evening does not demand anything. It only asks that we notice. The visitor closed his eyes. He allowed his own breath to slow. He felt a gentle warmth in his chest, a softness he had not noticed before. He realized that the quiet was not empty. It was full of presence. The teacher spoke softly. "Life will always have noise, questions, and tasks. But the quiet evening reminds us, you can rest. You can simply be." The visitor stayed until the last light faded. When he left, he carried a sense of calm that lingered long after the evening ended. Tonight, as the world grows still, remember this: not every moment requires action. Not every thought requires attention. Some moments exist simply for you to be present, to rest in the quiet that has always been there, waiting. Thank you for spending this quiet time with thoughts that matter. If rest has come, you may let the stories fade away. If you found comfort here, consider subscribing and sharing this episode with someone who may also need a gentle night. Your support helps this space remain calm and welcoming. May your evening be quiet, and may silence feel kind.